The stale air of the prison always hung heavy, a mixture of disinfectant, despair, and the metallic tang of fear. My name's Sarah, and I'd been an officer here for 5 years. 5 years of locking and unlocking doors, of trying to see the human behind the bars, and often failing. It's a tough job, and it changes you, hardens you. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for that day. It started like any other Tuesday. Early morning, the clatter of breakfast trays, the low hum of conversation that never quite reached a joyful note. I was on the D block, known for its higher security inmates. Most of them were quiet, resigned, or just plain tired. Then there was Thomas Miller. He was in for armed robbery, a long sentence. He wasn't a violent man, not in prison at least, but he had a presence, a quiet intensity that always made me a little uneasy, even though he never caused trouble. That morning, Thomas was different. His eyes, usually fixed on his book or the floor, kept darting to me. A flicker, then away. It wasn't accusatory, more urgent. I tried to ignore it. We're trained not to get too involved, to maintain a professional distance. But his gaze kept pulling at me. Later, during the yard time, he approached me. He walked with that slow, deliberate pace of someone who's spent too much time in confined spaces. He stopped a few feet away, hands clasped behind his back, looking at the concrete. "Officer," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Miller," I replied, my hand resting instinctively on my pepper spray. Old habits. He looked up then, and his eyes, they were dark, troubled. "Don't talk," he whispered, so low I almost didn't hear it over the general din of the yard. "Just listen," my brow furrowed. What was he playing at? This was highly unusual. Inmates didn't typically give orders, and certainly not like this. But something in his voice, a raw sincerity, made me pause. "Don't talk to Officer Jones today," he continued, his gaze flicking quickly to where Officer Jones was chatting with another inmate by the fence. "Don't get close to her, don't touch anything she touches." Now, this was getting weird. Officer Jones, Brenda, was a good officer, a little green, but solid. She was new to D Block. I looked at Thomas, trying to read him. Was this some kind of prank? A setup? Inmates were ingenious at finding ways to stir things up. "Miller, what are you talking about?" I asked, my voice firm but quiet. He flinched. "You talked. I told you not to. Just listen." He took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling slowly. "There's a secret. A bad secret, and she doesn't know. Nobody does. But I know." My mind was racing. A bad secret? This wasn't the usual prison gossip. This felt heavier, more real. "What kind of secret, Thomas?" I pressed, ignoring his earlier instruction. My professional instincts were kicking in. Was he talking about a shakedown? Contraband? He closed his eyes for a moment as if bracing himself. "Poison," he breathed out, the word barely audible. "In the sugar packets. From the kitchen. She likes sugar in her coffee. 2 packets." My blood ran cold. Sugar packets, poison. This was beyond anything I'd ever encountered. My first thought was, he's delusional. He's making it up. But the look in his eyes? It wasn't the wild look of a madman. It was the look of someone carrying a terrible burden, trying to warn. "How do you know this, Thomas?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper now, too. He finally met my gaze, and I saw a deep well of pain there. I heard things. From the outside. Before I came in, and then I saw the packets. Different. When they were bringing in supplies. Just a few. He swallowed hard. They were meant for someone else, I think. But they ended up here. On the block, my mind reeled. Someone was trying to poison an officer? Or an inmate? And Jones was the target? Why? It made no sense. Officer Jones was new. She hadn't made any enemies here as far as I knew. "Who?" I asked, my voice tight. He shook his head. "I don't know who. Just a hit. Someone wants her gone. Or someone like her. A new face. It's political, I think." From outside, this was a nightmare. A real, live nightmare playing out in front of me. If this was true, Brenda was in grave danger. And I was standing here talking to a convicted felon who was giving me information that could save a life. I need to report this, I said, my hand involuntarily going to my radio. Thomas grabbed my arm, his grip surprisingly strong, yet gentle. No, not yet. They'll just think I'm crazy, or trying to cause trouble. You have to be careful. You have to be smart. He was right. If I just went to the captain and said, Thomas Miller told me Officer Jones is going to be poisoned by sugar packets, I'd be laughed out of the office. Or worse, Thomas would be punished and the real threat would still be out there. What do I do, Thomas? I asked, feeling a strange desperation. I was an officer, trained for situations, but this was unprecedented. He looked around, then leaned in closer. When she goes for her coffee break, she always takes it around 10, down by the break room. She'll get a cup, and she'll go for the sugar. He pointed vaguely towards the main corridor. You have to be there. You have to stop her. Make an excuse. Spill her coffee, anything. Just don't let her use those packets. My heart was pounding in my chest. 10 o'clock. That was less than an hour away. Why are you telling me this, Thomas? I asked, looking into his eyes. There was no guile there, only a profound sense of urgency and something akin to fear. He let go of my arm, his shoulders slumping slightly. I saw my sister die from something similar. A long time ago. Accidents happen. But sometimes they're not accidents. And I can't let that happen to someone else if I can stop it. Even if I'm in here. He looked away, his jaw tight. Just promise me, officer. Promise me you'll stop her. I looked at this man, a prisoner, a man society had deemed dangerous, and he was asking me to trust him with a life. My gut, the one that had served me well through countless difficult situations, screamed at me to listen. There was no gain for him in this. No leverage. Only the risk of being labeled a troublemaker, or worse, an informant. I promise, Thomas, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I promise I'll stop her. He nodded, a single relieved nod, then turned and walked away, blending back into the crowd of inmates in the yard. I watched him go, a strange mix of terror and gratitude washing over me. The next hour was agony. Every minute stretched, every sound amplified. I tried to act normal, to go about my duties, but my eyes kept darting to the clock, to Brenda. She was oblivious, laughing with another officer about something, her bright smile a stark contrast to the dark secret I now carried. At 9:55 a.m., I saw her head towards the break room. My heart leaped into my throat. This was it. The moment of truth. I practically ran after her, making up an excuse in my head. Emergency lockdown on D block. I need her help now. Anything. Just to get her away from those sugar packets. Brenda, I called out, putting on my most urgent voice. Can you come here for a second? I need your input on something on D block. She turned, a questioning look on her face. Now? I was just about to grab a coffee. It's important, I insisted, my voice tight. Urgent. She hesitated, then sighed. All right, what is it? She started walking towards me, away from the break room door. Relief washed over me so intensely I almost buckled. But then, a sickening realization hit me. Even if I got her away, someone else might still be in danger. Or she might go back for her coffee later. I needed more. I needed proof. My mind raced. How could I get those packets without drawing attention? Without looking like a madwoman? Listen, Brenda, I said, lowering my voice. Can you cover my rounds for a few minutes? I just remembered I left something in the break room and I need to grab it. I'll be quick. It was a lie, but a necessary one. She frowned. Sarah, you're acting weird today. Everything okay? Just a bit stressed. I lied again, trying to sound convincing. Long night, she nodded sympathetically. Sure, I can cover. Go on. As soon as she walked away, heading towards D block, I practically flew into the break room. It was empty. My eyes immediately went to the sugar dispenser. There they were, the little white packets. Innocent looking, but potentially deadly. I grabbed the dispenser, my hands shaking. I needed to confirm Thomas's terrifying story. I dumped the packets onto the counter, sifting through them. Most were the usual brand. But then I saw it. 3 packets. Slightly different. The crimping on the ends was a little off, the paper just a shade whiter. And on the back, almost imperceptibly, a faint, tiny, almost invisible symbol, a stylized, almost tribal mark. My stomach dropped. Thomas was right. He was absolutely right. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a prank. This was real. I carefully picked up the 3 suspicious packets, tucking them into my pocket. My hands were still trembling, but a grim determination had set in. I had to report this, now, and I had to do it in a way that protected Thomas. I headed straight for Captain Miller's office. He was a gruff man, no nonsense, but fair. I walked in without knocking, something I never did. He looked up from his paperwork, a frown on his face. "Officer Sarah, is there a problem?" "Yes, sir." "A serious one?" I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I pulled the 3 packets from my pocket and laid them on his desk. "I believe these contain poison, sir. And they were intended for an officer." Captain Miller's eyes widened, his frown deepening into a look of shock. He picked one up, turning it over in his fingers. "Poison? What in God's name are you talking about, Sarah?" I explained everything, leaving out Thomas's name. I couldn't betray his trust. I had a gut feeling, sir. Something just felt off about these packets. I saw them being brought in, and something in my memory clicked. I just knew I had to check them. It was a lie, but a necessary one to protect Thomas. Captain Miller was a shrewd man. He looked at me, then at the packets, then back at me, a searching look in his eyes. He knew I was holding something back, but he also saw the genuine fear and urgency in my face. "All right, Sarah, this is extremely serious. We need to handle this with extreme caution. Don't tell anyone about this, do you understand? Not a soul." "Yes, sir," I replied, relieved he was taking it seriously. He immediately called for the prison's internal affairs, the medical team, and the local police. Within minutes, the prison was a hive of controlled chaos. The break room was sealed off. All sugar packets were collected for testing. Every officer was questioned, discreetly, about any potential threats or enemies they might have. Brenda, when she found out, was pale with shock. "Someone tried to poison me?" she whispered, her eyes wide. "But why?" I just shook my head, avoiding her gaze. I couldn't tell her everything. Not yet. The tests came back quickly. The suspicious packets contained a potent, fast-acting neurotoxin. Enough to kill someone quickly and without a trace, making it look like a sudden, natural death. The stylized symbol on the back was identified as a gang affiliation, a relatively new one, with ties to organized crime outside the prison walls. It turned out Brenda's brother was a prosecutor who had recently put away a high-ranking member of that very gang. She was a target, a message. The investigation was intense. The prison went on high alert. The kitchen staff was thoroughly vetted. Supply chains were scrutinized. It was a terrifying reminder of how vulnerable we all were, even within the supposedly secure walls of a prison. In the midst of it all, I sought out Thomas. I found him in the yard again, looking out at the sky. "Thomas," I said, my voice low. He turned, his eyes searching mine. "She's okay, isn't she?" "She's fine, Thomas." "Because of you," I said, a wave of emotion washing over me. "You saved her life." He just nodded, a slight, almost imperceptible dip of his head. "I told you not to talk," he said, a hint of a sad smile playing on his lips. "And I'm glad I listened to you when you told me to listen," I replied, a genuine smile breaking through my relief. "Thank you, Thomas." From the bottom of my heart. "And Brenda's, and everyone else's." He looked away, his gaze returning to the sky. It was the right thing to do. I knew he wasn't looking for praise or a reduced sentence or special favors. He had acted out of a profound sense of humanity, of preventing a tragedy he had witnessed before. He was a prisoner, yes, but in that moment, he was a hero. The incident changed me. It shattered my perception of who was good and who was bad, who was capable of compassion and who was not. It showed me that even in the darkest places, light can emerge from unexpected sources. I never revealed Thomas's involvement. It was our secret. A shared burden of knowledge and gratitude. Captain Miller, I think, suspected. He gave me a strange, knowing look once, a flicker of understanding in his eyes, but he never pressed. Thomas continued his sentence, quiet and reserved as ever. But whenever our paths crossed, there was an unspoken understanding between us. A silent acknowledgement of the life he had saved, and the trust that had been forged in the shadow of a deadly secret. And I, Sarah, the officer who thought she had seen it all, learned that sometimes the most profound lessons come from the least expected teachers, and sometimes a quiet whisper, a desperate plea, can be the loudest warning of all. The stale air of the prison still hangs heavy, but now, for me, it also carries the faint, persistent echo of gratitude and the enduring memory of a prisoner who told me, "Don't talk," and then saved a life.